All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Mr. Bernie from Linden Recreation. Unfortunately, we're unable to have a physical camp, but we're still able to do a camp virtually. So what we will be talking about is acting. Acting is very important because it's a way for your imagination to run wild. You exercise your imagination. It pertains to everyday life because, again, you're coming off of emotions, you're coming off of feelings. Not only that, but you could also portray things that are actually going on in everyday life itself, as far as life events. So acting is very much parallel to everyday life. And the reason why I'm teaching acting is because I want for you all to be able to dig deep down within yourself. Acting is more than just you get a role or a script and you read it and then you try to play it. Acting is not about trying to act. Acting is actually more so about understanding what your objective is. So, for an example, if I'm giving you a character to play, it is your job to create, or better yet, let me just say it's better for you to understand that character's backstory. What makes this character do the things that this character does throughout a scene or throughout a film or throughout a TV show. So you have to understand without being closed-minded. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you, when you're watching movies, you see people do certain stuff in movies and you're like, oh, that's the bad guy. I don't like that bad guy. Well, there's a reason why the bad guy is the bad guy. And it is your job, before you portray the bad guy, you have to understand why this bad guy is doing the things that they're doing. So you do your research on your character. You do your research on your character, you understand, and then you also are able to put in your own ideas to the character as you're building the character up. A character is only something for you to fill in. It's almost like sticking your hand in a glove, right? The glove is not going to move. The fingers on the gloves aren't going to move unless your hands are inside of it. So you bring yourself to a character and you bring that character to life. Otherwise, the character is just dead. It means nothing. All of the stuff written for this character to say means nothing unless you bring something to the table to breathe life for that character. Just to tap a little bit on scripts. So when you're supposed to say certain stuff, 9 times out of 10, you don't have to go by everything that's written for you to say. Most times, if you feel the urge to say something differently, you can do so. Just as long as it's within the same track of what the premise of the scene is. So you don't want to get a line where you're saying, hey, we got to go to the store by tonight. And then say, hey, I'm ready to go on a plane. Like, something random, but it has to be something that pertains to you having to deal with making your way to the store. So it could be anything else. You could reword it differently, just as long as you get the feel for it. But the more you do your research on a character and the more you come up with your own ideas to put in for a character, the better and easier it'll be for you to kind of portray a certain way of the character that you would like to play. But how to become an actor? Acting is simply finding yourself within each character you play. That's what acting is. Acting is finding yourself within each character that you play and you're talking. That's it. Find yourself in each character you play and you're just talking. Acting is not going to the top and being extra and trying to sell this thing. No. You just talk and you find yourself within the character. And what I mean by finding yourself in the character is you have to, again, like I said in the beginning, do research. Understand why this character's motives are the way that they are. Find out your who, what, where, why, and when. Your 5 W's. Who is this character? What's the name of this character? That's your who. Or how many people are in that scene. Find out those names. You have to find out, you know, the relationship between them. Are they friends? Are they brothers, cousins, mother and son, father and son, mother, daughter, father and daughter? You have to find all of that out. How close are they together? You know, are they a close family? Are they, you know, best friends? Are they not so good of friends? Are they not so close of a family? So those are your who's. Your whats are what's happening at that moment in the scene. What's happening. So as a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to, let's try this exercise. So let's say we have, we're going to start with our 5 W's. So for those of us that actually want to become actors in the future, whenever you get a role or a scene, even if it's a play in a school play, always write down your 5 W's. That's your who, your what, your where, your why, 1, 2, 3, 4, and your when. So let's say you're playing an older brother. It's 2 brothers, and they are both basketball players. One happens to make it off to college on a basketball scholarship. The other didn't get a scholarship. So what happens in that scene is an argument between 2 brothers. All right? So I'm writing this down as I'm talking, and I'm gonna show you guys what I've written so you understand why I'm writing it and why it's important to write down your 5 W's. Because when you're becoming an actor, it's very important that you write these 5 W's down and you keep looking back at it to understand. It's like a navigation for actors. So your who's are the names. So these 2 brothers, we're gonna say John and Anthony. All right, we'll call him Ant for short. John and Anthony, they're 2 brothers, basketball players, trying to get a scholarship to college. So if they're trying to get a scholarship to college, this must mean they're about 17, 18 years old. So age is also important to put down in your 5 W's. You're the older brother, so let's say you're John. John is 18. Ant is 17, so you're a year older than Ant. Now, Ant ends up getting a scholarship before you do. How is that possible? If you're a year older, Ant should be like a junior in high school and you're a senior. Ant skipped a grade. So understand what I'm doing. Ant skipped a grade because he's not only physically talented as an athlete, but he's good with academics, so he skipped a grade. So we're gonna write that under Ant. He skipped a grade. So that he's actually a senior with John. And they both play basketball. Basketball players. All right? In high school. They're brothers. That's still part of your who column. They're brothers. What's going on in this scene? They're having an argument. John is actually jealous of Ant because, again, Ant skipped a grade. He's great with academics, and he's athletic. More athletic than John. So, high school is just about, it's almost over. People are looking for colleges. Ant gets that scholarship. He doesn't have to worry. John does not have a scholarship. John is trying to go off to college to play basketball, just like Ant. But Ant gets the scholarship, John doesn't. So John is jealous. So they have an argument. This is what leads to the what's happening in the scene, an argument. So what's happening in the scene? Argument. If you were to take a snapshot of what they're doing, they could be at a restaurant, they could be at home, they can be at school. If you were to just stop time and just take a picture, and then when you look at that picture, you're trying to describe what's going on. You can see that, let's say they're at school, they're in the locker room. So if you take a snapshot of what they're doing from a distance, and then you see the picture, you would see two brothers arguing in the locker room. That's your what right there, is that snapshot of what's happening. Two brothers arguing in a locker room. So in your what, you're going to put argument in a locker room. That's your what. Where is this? It's in school, right? High school. What time is it? Now, in some cases, when you're reading for a character, or you're reading a script or a play, you have to be very, very detailed when you're putting down your 5 W's, your who, what, where, why, and when. You have to be very, very detailed, because the littlest details means a lot. So you have to be very, very detailed. So we're going to say they're arguing in a locker room. If they're arguing in the locker room, that means it's still school hours. We'll say that, because it could be later on, after a game, nighttime, but we'll say it's still school hours. So they're arguing in the locker room. Let's go 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? 2 p.m. They're changing. Basketball season is usually in the wintertime. So we're going to say it's winter. It's winter season. It's very important that you be as detailed and specific as possible, because it only helps your character. So it's high school, 2 p.m., winter season. That's your where. Now, sometimes you'll get the place. Sometimes you'll get where it's located. So for this sake, we'll just say Linden, New Jersey. Linden, New Jersey. Linden High School, Linden Tigers. Why is this scene happening? Now, remember in the beginning, I said Ant got a scholarship, John didn't. So John is jealous. They end up getting into an argument. The scene is happening because John is envious of Anthony, his younger brother. John is envious of Anthony, or we'll just say John is jealous of Anthony. John is jealous of Anthony. Now, but that's not specific enough. You got to be more detailed. Why is John jealous of Anthony? Remember, Anthony is more athletic. He is better when it comes to academics. That's still not enough. John needs more of a motive in order to pick this argument with his younger brother in the locker room. So this is where your own ideas need to start coming into play. Because as an actor, when you're going through the 5 W's, sometimes you'll have certain things that you can use to put in your 5 W's, and then other times you would just need to kind of just you would have to use your imagination and kind of pinpoint to the simplest key why this is happening. So because we're starting this from scratch and I don't have a script that we could actually read off from and, you know, start dissecting it like a doctor, we're going to use our imaginations. John is jealous of Anthony because Anthony is more athletically talented. He is more academically talented than him. And you could write that in there too. But he is mostly jealous because he watches his parents treat Anthony the way that they do, and they don't treat him the same. So they treat Anthony like he's like the better child, like he's the favorite. And John can't stand that. And he's been having to go throughout most of their upbringing with this feeling. So there's a lot of years packed up with anger and jealousy of his younger brother. So we can write that all down under the why. But for me, I'll keep it short and say he is jealous of Anthony, parents treat Anthony better. John is not the favorite child. John wanted the scholarship and couldn't get the scholarship. So that's all under the why. Now keep in mind, guys, we have not even started going through the acting part of an actor. This is just the backstory we're creating to help us play John better. So when is this happening again? Winter season, 2 p.m. So you could just take parts of what we wrote in the where column and put it in the when. 2 p.m., winter season. What year can this be? We'll use our imaginations. We'll say it's 2020. 2020. Year is very, very important to have in your 5 W's because years tell a difference within each film, each movie. Years tell a big difference because in the years, if we're to say this was 1996, when you're watching the films, you have to have everything that was in style back then in 96 to actually fit the storyline. So back then in 96, they had beepers. There wasn't any cell phones. They had beepers. They had like those big block phones with the antennas. If you were to say 2006, you would have the Sidekick phones, the BlackBerry. So years make a big difference in objects. What objects were in style at the time throughout, you know, this year group. So year is very important to put down in your 5 W's. Also, clothing makes a big part of that year, you know? So you have your when. 2 brothers who are in high school. Playing basketball. The younger brother is more talented. is jealous. So normally, and you could structure your 5 W's however you want to, but normally it will look something like this. You got your who, you got your what. I'm sorry, yeah, you got your who, you got your what, you got your where, you got your why, you got your when, and at the bottom is like a little brief description of what's happening. Like, you have 2 brothers playing basketball, trying to get a scholarship to go to school. The younger brother is more talented, the older brother is more jealous. So it's very important that once you finished off with the 5 W's, you go back and you look at it. You see what you've written down, and you kind of register it in your head now. So then now when you're actually going through a script or words that you're reading for your own character, when you look back at the 5 W's that you have written, it actually helps you memorize your lines better. It helps you memorize your lines better, or at least for me. It helps you memorize your lines better, and that way you're able to go off script, so you don't even need to look at it anymore, because now you understand what the conversation is about. Now that you understand what the conversation is about, you understand why you as John, why you're mad and why you're jealous. Now you can play that. Because then now the words are there and you're using the words that's written, and you don't even need to say it word for word. You already feel that emotion based upon what you've read in the script and what you've put down as your 5 W's for your character. And so now you feel that emotion already. So now you use that emotion that you feel, and then you bring it to life when you're playing a character. So, what does it take to be an actor? Well, one, you have to read. You guys have to read. You could read, there's a bunch of books on acting. The best part about being an actor actually is you could watch movies and TV shows, and that is part of your studying, honestly, because you're studying how other actors and other actresses portray and how they move and just how they deliver lines to each other. So when you watch a bunch of movies, or you could watch your favorite actor, you could watch your favorite actress, and then you could watch them do their thing in a film or on TV, and you just watch their tendencies, watch the way they do stuff. It actually helps you in the long run as an actor. So when you're watching it, you're actually studying that. But it's not only that. That's the fun part of studying as being an actor. But there's also reading. You have to read. All right, you got to be able to have a lot of knowledge when it comes to acting, because there's a lot of different techniques, and as the weeks go on, I will show you guys these different techniques, because I use these techniques. But you have to read. Find some books with acting, get on to those books, read them. You know, there's plenty of books. Acting is probably one of the, I don't want to say it's the toughest jobs in the world. It's actually, you know, the funnest. But it's a consistent daily studying thing. As an actor, you're either auditioning for roles, or you're studying on a technique, or you're working on set or in a play. So it's one of the three, but you're doing one of those three each day. There's not one day that goes by where you don't do at least one of the three. You have to either read or study while watching movies and TV. But you never stop as an actor. You're always consistently working. You're always consistently studying, consistently being curious. So curiosity is also a good thing for actors. When you're curious about stuff, you're able to kind of find an understanding about it, and that can actually help you portray a character better. So yeah, being an actor is actually really, really fun. And as the weeks go by, I can't wait. I'm gonna jump into character with some stuff, and hopefully I could have some people ask questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But unfortunately, guys, that is my time. And look, we've spent all of this time just talking about the 5 W's. We haven't even tapped into, you know, playing a character role. We just got into just writing what it is to be what it takes to be an actor. So next time we will go over different acting techniques and what acting techniques can actually work for you, because different techniques work for different people. So the best thing about being an actor, it's not a requirement for this certain technique to work for you. Like, I want to say there's about 4 to 5 different techniques, and you don't even need to learn all of them. You could learn a whole bunch of them and just take bits and pieces from each of them and then make it your own thing as an actor. So it's a big, 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 big area. So without that being said, guys, I'm going to see you next time. I'm Bernie, Mr. Bernie, and I can't wait to see you guys. All right? Have a good one.